Well, we saw a few showers and storms across the area throughout the morning and afternoon, and things have quietened down here for tonight. We're expecting the storms for the next couple of days to mainly be during the second half of the day. You probably noticed the past few days we've had some rain in the morning. That looks to be a little bit different here for tomorrow and Thursday, tomorrow and Friday, I should say, as most of the storms are going to be during the afternoon and evening due to a shift in the winds now coming out of the east and northeast here. We'll likely see that continue through part of the weekend. Of course, we're going to get to Dorian in a second, but want to give you a quick update on the forecast through tonight and into tomorrow. Temperatures are quite warm into the 80s, and it's very humid outside. We're expecting only upper 70s to around 80s to wake up tomorrow morning. Should be dry. Storms, though, will start firing up during the afternoon and evening and then push back towards the coast out of the northeast. So it looks like we'll see the storms develop first inland and then push back towards the coast as we go into the afternoon and evening. So the next couple of afternoons, wet and potentially stormy, but the morning should be dry if you have any plans to head out during the morning hours here for tomorrow or your Friday morning. Here's a look at Dorian. This is the San Juan radar, at least the view from it, and you can see the eye clearly is visible now, and this thing is really starting to get its act going. It looks like the eye is trying to close off. You can see the eye wall indicated by these very dark red colors here in yellows, showing that that eye wall is trying to close off there, and it looks like it is actually shrinking a bit. The eye, if you notice, was large, and then it has tried to contract some, and that indicates some strengthening. Just got a report, I think the pressure now down to 988 millibars, so with a pressure dropping, that means the storm is intensifying, and it certainly looks like that on satellite as we're getting these big thunderstorms that are trying to wrap around the circulation center. You need that ring of thunderstorms around there to really get the storm to deepen as it's doing right now, and it looks like it's got an environment that it's going to have plenty of opportunity to intensify. We expect it to be a pretty nasty hurricane here in pretty short order over the next couple of days. Official Hurricane Center forecast track. This is the 8 o'clock intermediate advisory. The track, of course, does not change during the intermediate advisory. We'll get a new track coming up at the top of the hour, perhaps a little bit before that. But you can see that the track generally takes it to the north and west like it's doing right now. Then we're going to see a turn towards the west, and it's going to be key as to exactly where this turn occurs that will determine exactly where on the Florida coast this thing makes landfall, which subsequently will determine what kind of weather we're going to see from it here in Southwest Florida, if at all. Now, the latest computer model forecast tracks have been kind of shifting back and forth. We did see a southward shift, particularly in the European model earlier today, but they've been tightly clustered right along the Treasure and the Space Coast here, crossing over the state with a turn towards the north. We started seeing some of the model members turning north last night, and that trend has continued into today. We do expect that the storm is going to try to follow and go around a large area of high pressure in the upper atmosphere that's sitting over the western Atlantic, and it's going to try to find any weakness in that to turn towards the north. That's why these models are turning north, because it is finding a weakness in the high pressure ridge a little bit later in the period. Now, here's a little closer look at the computer model tracks here, and really going all the way down towards Martin and St. Lucie County, northward towards Brevard County. We've got several areas here, at least several of the tracks going across the middle portion of Florida, all the way through the I-4 corridor, through Tampa and Orlando and Lakeland, and off towards the north and west into portions of the Florida Panhandle here later in the period. We easily could see a track going northward towards the first coast and then potentially into southeastern Georgia. That's why the cone of uncertainty looks the way it does. Now, here's the things that we know. Dorian is strengthening. Florida threat is looking more likely based on the trends that we've been seeing. So you want to make sure that you have your plan ready to go. Now, right now, it's still kind of a wait and see for us here in Southwest Florida, but you definitely want to be prepared. It's never a bad idea to always be prepared. So even if we don't get anything, if you've been to the store and gotten your water, you're prepared for the next storm as it approaches our area, if we ever have to deal with one. Here's a look at the computer models. This is the GFS model with the ridge of high pressure here. In this particular run, the ridge is weaker. At least the GFS is going with a weaker ridge, which would cause Dorian to turn more north or make landfall a little bit farther north here. Now, I want to show you the European model in contrast. The European model, at least the last run of it, which was this morning, showed a stronger high pressure ridge, which would indicate that the storm would take more of a westward turn, and that westward track would take it across the state. Any landfall farther south in the state and going west across the state would give us more impacts here. Also, it depends on the size of the storm, how fast it's moving, and how strong it is when it makes landfall. But any kind of track that far south across the state is going to give us big impacts here. A little bit farther north, though, we will have less impacts. But you can see predictor, though, for tomorrow. Chances for rain during the afternoon and evening. Expect the same thing on Friday. And then we'll be watching for the weekend the effects of Dorian. If we did see any effects from Dorian, the earliest we would likely see it would be Saturday night and a Sunday. That is if it maintains its current path. If it happens to slow down, of course, this will be a little bit later. But the weekend forecast right now, particularly Sunday into Labor Day, is a question mark right now based on what Dorian does. But the next couple of afternoons will be wet and stormy. So just keep that in mind, and we'll keep you updated as we get more data in on Dorian, and we'll give you the latest.
All right. Thank you, Derek. Feeding